गुरुर् साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। सद्गुरु महाराज की जय। Devotees of Bhagavan, again this morning on this most auspicious day of Gopashtami, I extend one warm welcome to all of you and hope and pray that your time today with us in Satsang, being Gopashtami, would be very, very rewarding, many, many times over. Please do join us in our prayers and our little pravachan so that we can maximize on the auspiciousness of today, a day when the names of Kanhaiya, Gopal and Govinda have so much more significance or came into being. For now, let's give prayers to the different forms of God. Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirviganam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryashu Sarvada Sarvamangala-mangalaye Shive Sarvartha-sadhike Sharanye Tayambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. Karacharana kritam va Kayajam karamajam va Sravananainajam va manasam va paradam Vihidam avihitam va Sarvameta kshamasva Jaya Jaya Karunabhe Sri Mahadeva Shambho Jaya Jaya Karunabhe Sri Mahadeva Shambho Lakshmi Karotu Kalyanam Arogyam Sukha Sampada Mama Shatrum Vinashaya Deepa Jyotir Namostute Deepa Jyotir Namostute Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandaya Vedase Raghunathaya Nathaya Sitaya Pataye Namah Sitaya Pataye Namah. Hari Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Devotees of Bhagavan, we said initially that today is the most auspicious day. It's called Gopashtami, a day when Bhagavan Sri Krishna, together with his brother Balaram, got permission from their father and from the residents of Braj to do something very special. And that is that they were able for the first time to take the cows out for grazing. This is not something that happened before. It was on Gopashtami that this happened, but we'll talk a little bit more on that as we get more into our satsang. But for now, we want to sing a prayer in the form of a kirtan or a bhajan. Dhusari dhuri bhare hariyavat. I think the lyrics will be available. It explains how dhuri bhare hariyavat, dhuri, when Sri Krishna goes out to the cows and he spends all day, when he comes back at home or coming back at home in the evening, how he has a very divine vision, an interestingly divine vision, and that is that his entire body would be covered with the dust raised from the hooves of the cows, the dust that comes out from the bottom of the hooves of the cows. And I say this is divine because so many devotees, pointedly Bhishma Pitama was a very ardent devotee of Sri Krishna. And the one image that Bhishma Pitama kept in his heart all his life, knowing that Krishna is Bhagavan, he wanted to keep that image of Krishna. He asked Bhagavan Krishna to bless him with that image all the time, the image of Kanhaiya as a cowherd boy and with the dust from the feet of the cows smeared all over his body. Bhishma contemplated and meditated upon this form of Krishna for his whole life. And as we know in the end, in the war when he was lying on the bed of arrows, he was also fortunate to have Sri Krishna in his physical form visit him. And of course we know that he attained Bhagavan. So let's try to group our voices together as we chant this bhajan, Dhusari Dhuri Bhare Hariyavat. It explains the beauty of Sri Krishna when he has the dust of the feet of the cows all over his body. Dhuri Bhare Hariyavat Dhusari Dhuri Bhare Hariyavat Dhusari Dhuri Bhare Hariyavat Dhusari Dhuri Bhare Hariyavat Dhusari. Mor Mukut Katikat Nikache Murli Madhura Bajavat, that he is wearing a crown. Mor Mukut, there's a peacock feather on his crown, Murli Madhur Bajavat, and he's playing beautifully his flute. Mor Mukut Katikacha Nikache, Mor Mukut Katikacha Nikache, Murli Madhur Bajavat, Murli Madhur Bajavat, Dusari Duri Bhare Hariyawat, Dusari Duri Bhare Hariyawat, Dusari. Dhuni suni benu sab braj banita, dekhi ko juri dhavat. That hearing the sound of this flute, all the gopis of Braj, they came out of their homes. As soon as they hear the flute of Sri Krishna, when he's returning with the cows, he will play his flute. They all are looking out of their homes, out of their houses, to have the darshan of that most beautiful form of Krishna with the dust smeared all over his body. Duni suni benu, Duni suni benu, sabai braj banita, Duni suni benu, sabai braj banita, dekho dekhan ko judi dhavat, dusari dekhan ko judi dhavat, dusari दूसरी जूड़ी भरे हरियावत, दूसरी जूड़ी भरे हरियावत, दूसरी. कान्हे लकुटी कामड़ी कारी लतोर जी मन भावत. That he has with him Kanhaiya when he's returning with the cows. Kanhe lakuti, on his shoulder, he's holding a lakuti, a piece of stick. Kamari kadi. Laturji man bhavat. He also has a blanket, a dark colored blanket that he keeps with him. Laturji man bhavat, and his hair is most beautiful at this time because his hair is very lush, very thick and very curly. And can you imagine the dust from the feet of the cows flying all over his hair and creating sort of a canopy on his hair? This is what is so attractive to the gopis. Kandhe lakuti kamari kari, Kandhe lakuti kamari kari, लतौर जी मन भावत, उसरी लकौर जी मन भावत, दूसरी दूरी भरे हरियावत, दूसरी दूरी भरे हरियावत, दूसरी. Vatsa prema rasa puri surabhi, that because of the motherly affection for their calves, when the cows are made in kshira chuavat, that milk is flowing as the cows are accompanying Krishna and they're coming back to their calves. Because of that affection, the milk is automatically flowing from the breasts of the cows with the expectation that they are meeting with their calves in a little bit, and that Sri Krishna is in their company. Vatsa prema ras puri surabhitana, Vatsa prema ras puri surabhitana, medin kshira chuavat, dusari medin kshira chuavat, dusari duri bhare हरियावत दूसरी दूरी हरि आवत दूसरी. The last line says that so kripalu jaki jakan hit sambhu samadhi bulavat. That his saint says that this is such a divine and most beautiful vision, a most beautiful scene. Not only that the gopis are longing to have this darshan, this scene of Sri Krishna every day, but Shambhu Samadhi Bulavat, that Shankar Bhagavan will come out of his Samadhi whenever Krishna is coming back with the cows, just to have the vision of Kanhaiya with the dust all over his skin. So kripalu jaki jakhan hit, so kripalu jaki jakhan hit, Shambhu samadhi bulavat दूसरी. शंभु समाधि बुलावत दूसरी. दूरी भरे हरियावत दूसरी. दूरी भरे हरियावत दूसरी. दूरी भरे हरियावत दूसरी. बाल गोपाल भगवान की जय.
Radha Krishna Foundation launches RKF Radio in our effort to promote Indian culture around the world. Our programs are designed for all ages, including Bollywood yesteryear, Bollywood latest for the younger folks, bhajans, and lectures from notable scriptures. RKF Radio. Live now at radhakrishnaffoundation.com. App coming soon. Radha Krishna Foundation presents on Friday, March 26th, live on Facebook and YouTube, Ranga Barasi 2021.
की जय. At this time, my dear friends, let's look at the scriptures and see what is it we can learn of the significance of Gopashtami. Govind mero hai, Gopal mero hai, Govind mero hai, Gopal mero hai, Shri Bake Bihari Nandlal mero hai, Shri Bake Bihari Nandlal mero hai, Govind mero hai, Gopal mero hai, Govind mero hai, Gopal mero hai, Shri Bake Bihari Nandlal mero hai, Shri Bake Bihari Nandlal mero hai, Govind mero hai, Gopal mero hai, Govind mero hai, Gopal mero hai. Shuklashtami Kartiketu Smita Gopashtami Budaiha Taradinada Vasudevo Bhu Gopa Purvam Tu Vatsapa Shri Bake Bihari Nandlal mero hai, Shri Bake Bihari Nandlal mero hai, Govind mero hai, Gopal mero hai, Govind mero hai, मेरो है, गोविंद मेरो है, गोपाल। This verse is taken from Padma Puran in the Kartik Mahatmya section of Padma Puran. This verse is saying, Sukla Ashtami Kartiketu. Sukla Ashtami means today. Ashtami means the 8th day of the month of Kartike. Sukla Ashtami Kartiketu. Sukla means the bright half. Sukla Paksh. In a bright half, the 8th day, in a bright half, Sukla Paksh, in the month of Kartik, this is the current month that we're going through. Remember a few weeks ago we talked about this is Kartik Mas, a most auspicious month. So this Gopashtami is one of the many, many auspicious days in this beautiful month of Kartik. So Smrita Gopashtami Budhaya. That this day, this eighth day, Sukla Ashtami in Kartik is called Gopashtami. Gopashtami tar dinada vasudeva bhut. Gopashtami means the same thing, but instead of Sukla Ashtami, it is Gopashtami. Why is it Gopashtami? Because the last line says, Gopa purvam tu vatsapa. Gopa purvam tu vatsapa. Now, it is called Gopashtami because before today, Sri Krishna and his brother, they were known as What's Up. You know, What's Up? It sounds like when he's saying What's Up, right? Like What's Up. Not What's Up, the app, or it's not the greeting What's Up, but the Sanskrit word What's Up means he who takes care of the calves. You know, Vats means calf, right? Like calf, as in cow and calf. So Vats mean calf. So before today, Kanhaiya was not allowed to take care of the cows. He could have only taken care of the calves because of his age. He's very little, right? We'll talk about when this happened. And so from today on, he's called Gopa. Gopa Purvam tu Vatsapa. Gopa means cowherd. So from today, he's not Vatsap or Vatsap, he's Gopa. Or Vatsapa, Gopa. He has graduated from Vatsapa to Gopa, meaning that he is now taking care of the cows. Also, it is today that Sri Krishna is given that name Gopal. Govind and Gopal are names given to Sri Krishna on this day of Gopashtami. Why? Because as we know, Vind means, this word Vind means find, right? To finding, like when you're finding something. So Govind means Bhagwan has found the Kausari, meaning today he has discovered that he can, he has launched himself into the one who has to find the cows and take care of the cows, right? Gopal, Pal means a protector, you know, like a king, Pal. So Go means cow. So from today on, Sri Krishna is the protector of the cows. So he's Govind, he's Gopal. It's a most auspicious day because today is very auspicious for those Hindus who still have the tradition of doing Gaudan. You know, we do Gaudan, the gift of a cow. People give to their pandits, the Brahmins. They give them Gaudan today. So today is the most appropriate day for doing Gaudan, right? Because today Sri Krishna has expressed in such a stronger way, in a very significant way, his love and relationship with the cows. So don't try to send me a cow, right? I live in Florida here. You can see I already have a cow here. So I have nowhere else to put any other cow. But if you want to do Gaudan, a very, very auspicious gift to give, then today is most auspicious for you to do Gaudan. So why is it that it should be today. Why did Krishna and his brother Balram didn't take the cows out before? Let's find out from Bhagavad Mahapuran, who will help us to answer that question. Bala Mukunda Jai Nandalala Krishna Kandhaya Jai Gopala Bala Mukunda Jai Nandalala Krishna Kandhaya Jai Gopala Jai Gopala Jai Gopala Krishna Kandhaya Jai Gopala Jai Gopala Jai Gopala Krishna Kandhaya Jai Gopala Bala Mukunda Jai Nandalala Krishna Kandhaya Jai Gopala Bala Mukunda Jai Nandalala Krishna Kandhaya Jai Gopala Tatasya Paugandavaya Srutau Braje Babhuvatustau Pashupala Sammatau Gacharayantau Sakivi Samam Padair Vrindavanam Punyamati Chakratu Balamukunda Jai Nandalala Krishna Kandhaya Jai Gopala Balamukunda Jai Nandalala Krishna Kandhaya Jai Gopala Oh Jai Gopala Jai Gopala Krishna Kandhaya Jai Gopala Jai Gopala Jai Gopala Krishna Kandhaya Jai Gopala Balamukunda Jai Nandalala Krishna Kandhaya Jai Gopala Krishna Kandhaya Jai Gopala Krishna Kandhaya Jai Gopala Kandhaya Lal Ki Jai. So this is the 10th canto, the 15th chapter, the first verse of Bhagavad Mahapuran tells us that there is a period of time in a person's life that is called Pauganda, right? So Pauganda here means the age, the time when a person's between 6 and 7, about 6 to 10 years old. This is called Pauganda. Tatasya Paugandava Sritau Braje. So now, remember Krishna's brother Balram was born before him, so a little bit older. But today, both Krishna and his brother were allowed to take the cows because now they were of the age Pauganda. So both of them now are between the ages of 6 and 10. So Krishna was just about 6 years, about 7 years old. So it is said that Pauganda. And so Pauganda Srutau Braje, that Ga Charayantau, that Ga here means the cows. Sri Krishna was allowed to take the cows, but what is the greater spiritual significance in addition to Kandhaya now accompanying the cows himself? Now, Padaira, Samam Padaira means feet, right? Brindavanam Punyamativa Chakratu. Today was the first day, or is the first day, when Sri Krishna was here in human form, that he was able to step out of where he lived in Nandagaon to go into the Vrindavan area barefooted. Padaira, Punyamativa. Punya means blessing. So today is the day when Vrindavan, that has come from as a part of an extraction and expansion of Golok Dham and come upon earth, today is when Sri Krishna has really solidified Vrindavan as a most auspicious place. Why? Because he started running in Vrindavan barefooted. So the divine lotus feet of Sri Krishna has touched Vrindavan today for the first time. And so this is why Vrindavan is considered such an auspicious place, because Kanhaiya has touched this part of the land of, this is why it's called Braj. And he went there in company with his friends as well. You know, the gopis and the gwals, and the auspicious print of his feet were set upon Vrindavan today. So you remember the significance of the feet of Bhagavan. Hanumanji had asked Bhagavan Sri Ram about this when he was sent by Sugriv to uncover the identification or the identity of two people that he saw. कोतम श्यामल गौर शरीरा क्षत्रिय रूप फिर हो बनवीरा कठिन रूप भूमि कोमल गामी कठिन भूमि कोमल पद गामी कवन हेतु बीर चहु बन स्वामी कवन हेतु वीर चहु बन स्वामी श्री राम जय जय राम 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 श्री राम जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम. When Hanumanji approached Bhagavan Sri Ram, one thing he observed, he said, my dear Lord, Katina Bhumi Komal Padagami, that your feet, they look so soft and so tender, but yet you're walking barefooted in this very difficult forest. So the feet of Bhagavan are what devotees recognize first. If devotees ponder upon the feet of the saint, or upon the feet of Sri Ram, or their favorite form of God, if devotees pray every day just to clasp the feet of Bhagavan, because that is where the auspiciousness is. From the feet of Bhagavan, the Ganga came initially into the Kamandal of Brahmaji. It is from the feet of Bhagavan that creates, this is written in Bhagavad, that creates formless aspect of God. Nirgun Brahman. It is the feet of God that has blessed Vrindavan on this day of Gopashtami, making Vrindavan a most auspicious place. So, we've been talking about Gopashtami. We said that Bhagavan Sri Krishna has expressed his love for the cows today in a very public manner. And so, the question will be asked, so what is so important about Krishna associating himself with the cows today? What is so sacred, or why is the cow so sacred? And why is this a religious observance, and we should pay attention to it, and we should try to attain Bhagavan's blessings, etc., etc. Scripture helps us to understand. The first thing helps us to understand the answer to that question. Narayana, 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 Swami Narayana, 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 Satya Narayana, 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 Satya Narayana, Narayana, Narayana. Mathamane tatastasmin Shirabdho Devadanavai Havirdha ma bhavad purvam Surabhi Surpujita Lakshmi Srimanarayan Narayan Narayan Srimanarayan Narayan Narayan Satyanarayan Narayan Narayan Satyanarayan Narayan Narayan Srimanarayan Narayan Narayan Srimanarayan Narayan Narayan Lakshmi Narayan 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 Lakshmi Narayan Narayan Narayan. Havirida Ma Bhavatu Puryam Surabhi Surapujita. That if you remember a few weeks ago, we discussed the katha of Samudra Manthan, the churning of the ocean, on Diwali, how Mahalakshmi came out, how Dhanvantari Vaid came out, of the churning of the ocean that was instructed to be done by Bhagavan to the Devatas and to the Daityas. The demons were supposed to churn the ocean. We know this katha, we discussed it at length a few weeks ago. Now, when this churning of the ocean, Samudra Manthan, was going on, this verse is taken from Vishnu Puran, in the first book of Vishnu Puran, the 9th chapter, 91st verse. It says here that the very first thing, there are many, many things that came out. We discussed some of them. The very first thing that came out of the churning of the ocean was what? Purva Surabhi Surapujita. Surabhi here means a cow. The first cow that existed came out of the churning of the ocean by the name of Surabhi. Now, this act of churning the ocean was a divine act. This was not only instructed by Bhagavan, but was assisted by Bhagavan. Remember the mountain? Remember the snake that was used to as the cord? Basuki? Remember when the mountain was moving from place to place, Bhagavan took Kurum avatar to stabilize the mountain, and he went underneath as a huge tortoise. So this was, Bhagavan was instrumental in the fact that not only so many Mahalakshmi and Dhanvantari, Vaid, etc., but Surabhi, the first cow, also came out of the churning of this ocean. And so that is one of the, Surabhi is with Bhagavan Sri Krishna. This is why Bhagavan Krishna loves cows. Scriptures tell us that Indradev also worships the cow and has a cow by the name of Surabhi. Surabhi is Bhagavan Krishna's cow that he has with him all the time. So this is one of the reasons why cow is, particularly, sometimes we say cows are divine. It is why cow is such a generous and such a docile creature. If we look at it carefully, cow gives more to human beings than she takes from us. This quality we can only compare to Mother Earth as only giving and not taking. The cow does that as well. It only gives, or it gives more, a whole lot more than it takes from us. When we think about it, cow gives us 5 main things. These 5 main things are called the Panchagavya, right? Panchagavya means the 5 very important things that the cow gives to us. So the first 3 of these 5 things are generally used for good health and in worship. The last 2 of these things can be used in worship At least one of the two should be used in worship or recommended to be used in worship, religious performances. And it can help from a social or from a secular standpoint. They can also be used as fuel and a disinfectant, and etc., etc. So the first thing, we know this, doodh, right? We know what doodh is. It's milk. So the cow gives milk. And from the milk, what do we get? We get what is called dahi. Dahi is what we loosely call yogurt here in the West. Curd, yogurt. And dahi, both milk and dahi are used for worship, right? There's a third thing that comes from that yogurt, from that curd, makhya or makhan. Makhan or ghee, or both. Makhan is generally known as butter. Right? Remember, the yogurt is not butter yet. If you churn yogurt and you churn it and you churn, you'll get butter. And then that butter can be used for, this is the butter that Kanhaya steals all the time. But then we can get ghee from that butter. Real ghee, right? Like I said, there's the ghee you get today is not 100%. It's compromised in many ways. The fourth thing that we get from the cow, maybe surprisingly, maybe not, that is in the same category of importance is gobar. Gobar is cow dung, right? How is that important? Okay. And the fifth thing is gomutra. Gomutra means cow urine. You heard me. Cow urine is in the same category of these 5 very important things that a cow gives. This is why it's called Panchagavya. 5 nourishing products, are they? How is gobar and gomutra nourishing? They are. These are purificatory elements. Nourishing and purificatory. They purify. Like I said, the ghee that we get today is, in modern day is not 100% that we get in the store. Why? Because the ghee that is made, that we get in the store, that comes from India, wherever it comes from, that ghee, they take all the milk, like 5 gallons of milk, they burst the milk, however they do that. They churn it and then they boil it and it becomes ghee and we get that. So that ghee that we use, it works, but it's not 100%. Real ghee, for those of us who are from India and the West Indies, you'll know, real ghee is made from something called the chach. You know chach? Chach means the cream, as we call it, that settles on top of the milk. The in English might be called the residuum, right? That which is settled on top. That is taken and processed and made into ghee. When ghee is made from that, then it's 100%. You can get that here, I'm not trying to advertise anybody's company here. I don't have any stock share or anything, but there's a company called Ancient Organics, just in case you're interested. These are Ayurvedic doctors, 2 Ayurvedic doctors, and the cows are grazed on grass that is unfertilized. And then they get milk and they boil the milk and they take the chach, the cream of the milk, and they boil it and make ghee. And while they boil it, they play auspicious, stotras, the appropriate mantras, and they boil this mainly on Purnima Day, etc. Trayambakam yajamahe sugandim pushtivaranam, so that this ghee can be infused with energy, with divine spiritual energy, so whoever uses it can also not only enjoy the medicinal benefits, but the spiritual ones as well. Now, this is not I'm not endorsing this, I'm just giving you some details, right? But that is how ghee has to be. So if ghee is made in such a way, then it's pure. So if you want, we can buy a little one when we're doing our little ahuti at home, our little havan. We know that that's 100%. It's not contaminated in any way by the people or by the process, right? So it's still possible to get. We use all these things when we have puja, when we have yajna. The scriptures tell us the yajna is incomplete without these ingredients. Okay, so we're saying that the reason why human beings should not eat animals with human emotions is that it can affect us negatively. And that's not an assumption. That is not based on the fact that cows are sacred for Hindus, and this is an attempt to encourage or discourage Hindus from eating cows. This is a scientific study that was done in 2018, and it's also published, so you can check it out. It's published in the Journal of Comprehensive Reviews of Food Sciences and Food Safety, 2018. So this research was done on the effects of stress on the physiological form, of animals, and ultimately meaning what happens to the animals when it's being slaughtered, when it's in the line to be slaughtered, or when it's being taken to the slaughterhouse, what happens to that animal, and eventually what happens to the meat of that animal. So like I said, this is an official scientific study, and what they found was first that the confinement of the animal, they put them in a very, very small space, and then they're traveling, and sometimes they can see the slaughter ahead of them, and the animals go through stress. So the confinement of these animals, in the study it says in the pre-slaughter stage. In the pre-slaughter stage, these animals go through a lot of fear. They feel this fear, and this fear is the same fear that human beings feel. When we're under threat, if we think we're going to get into trouble, we'll be hurt, etc., physically, we go through fear. It is said that animals with emotions, and this includes the cow, a cow goes through that same fear that a human being will go through if you know now you're about to be killed. Right? You know what happens with a human being? We don't want any one of us to be experiencing that, but from the study says that a human being would cringe. The heart rate will go up, etc. When that happens, and bear in mind the same thing happens to the cow, that the cringing in the pre-slaughter stage, the fear emits the most stress on the body of the animal. The study says on the metabolic functions, meaning what happens with the body of the animal when it's going through that fear, and because it has gone through that fear, what happens to the post-mortem biological changes that the study is saying. The post-mortem meaning after the animal is killed, the biological changes in the animal is transferred into the meat. There's a chemical imbalance that impacts the meat of that animal after death. This is according to the study. So sometimes, according to the study, you'll buy a piece of meat and you see there's like a big reddish spot or something that looks like blood or something like that. That's because of the fear in the animal that it goes through, and that fear is now transferred into the meat, and they tested the meat and found that same fear, that same stress is there. So in addition to that, this that we're talking about, that further examination in this scientific test was done, and it has been found out that the stress in the process of the slaughter of that animal has proven that it results in the impairment of the meat. It results in the breaking up of the real values of the meat, of the quality of the meat, and it causes defects. Causes defects in the meat because of the bruises, and according to the study, the hemorrhages. It causes, according to the study, an increased spread of pathogens. What that means, it means the foodborne bacteria. There are many names for that. We hear all the names, in the news sometimes, salmonella, etc. So because of the fear of the cow or the animal that is being slaughtered, it goes through that fear. That fear transfers into the meat of the animal. When we consume that meat, we consume that same stress level and the defects into the meat. Because of the fear, we consume that same thing. So this is a scientific study. It goes to show that we as human beings should not be eating animals that have, these emotions, especially a cow. Because a cow definitely has human emotions. You can have a cow, it doesn't mean that you cannot have a cow, but some people, just give protection to their cows. They have a few cows, they just give protection, they get milk, they solve their economic problems. Cows solve the economic problems of millions of people in the world. I remember this little, when I was at the ashram in India, and at the head of the street, there was a cow there with a little calf, and there's a little boy, about 6 or 7 years old. I remember the conversation I had with him, saw him with his, his little broom and cleaning up the, sweeping the cow pen and ensure the cow is comfortable, the one cow he had, and giving it food and taking care, ensure the calf has shelter and things like that. So I was observing this. It was very nice to see. So I went up to him and I said, the calf is so beautiful. What is the name of the calf? He said, Dablu. What? Dablu. Okay, interesting. Interesting name of the calf. I said, how did you end up with that name? Is that a popular calf name, Dablu? And he's pointing at the cow, and he's looking at me as though you're out of tune here. You need to keep up, right? Pointing at the cow. I'm like, what? How come the calf end up as Dablu? Because of the mother, he's saying. Because of the mother's name. I said, oh, okay, got you. The mother name is Dablu as well? He said, no. Mother name is Ablu. So now he calls the cow and the calf Ablu Dablu. And this is a real story, I didn't make it up. A little boy told me that this is his Ablu Dablu, and this is what he does every day. He takes care of them, ensure that they are happy. So some people do that. They have their little cow, they take care of it, it gives them milk, they're happy, family is healthy. Because really we should be protectors of the cow. In a Hindu marriage ceremony, Vivah Samskar, a gaudan should be given. And if it's not given, the least the Pandit does is that he reads this mantra, Gopaniyam, and he tells the father of the bride and the groom, they both hold a straw in their hand representing grass. And they break the straw in two. Observe next time you go to a Vivah Samskar Hindu wedding. What is that? That the groom and the father of the bride are both pledging in the marriage ceremony to be protectors of the cow. So it's a sacred thing for us. It's a sacred thing for many people. There are many, there's an organization for animal cruelty and things like that. Have you ever observed someone wearing a mink coat? People wearing mink coat? Probably rich people. When you wear a mink coat, you know how many people will see that? And for that, that means cruelty to animals. Oh, how can you wear the fur of animals? How can you be so cruel that you're wearing a mink coat? And they will start writing to the authorities and the Animal Cruelty Center and what have you. What is interesting, though, is that mink coat represents cruelty to animals, but when you wear a leather jacket, all of a sudden, this is supposed to be fashionable. Isn't that a conflict? Why is mink coat a problem and a leather jacket fashionable? Where does the leather come from? It comes from the cow. Now, this is not, I'm not propagating what you should do, how you should operate, and what you should wear and what you should not wear. I'm just giving you an example. We all know leather shoes and leather belt and everything leather. We proudly say, oh, this is leather. meaning that, we're so cool, we're wearing leather. It's cruelty. It's an encouragement to slaughter the cows, because that's the only way you'll get leather. And when people wear mink coat, we have a problem with it. It's the same thing. We should be protecting the cows, not destroying, not slaughtering them, at least as Hindus, right? At least as Hindus. Don't make this controversial. At least as Hindus, we should protect the cows, because it's a sacred thing to us. There's a beautiful story of when Indira Gandhi, former Prime Minister of India, she had promised that if she becomes Prime Minister, she'll help the country to protect the cows. Now there's a law like that in India. It has always been the law, but no one imposed it. Now it's controversial because the current Prime Minister imposes the law of cow slaughter. I'm not taking a moral position on this, I'm just telling you what happened. Personally, as a person, I don't subscribe to the slaughter of cows, but I'm not being political here, I'm just giving you a story. She promised to take care of the cows and to help end the slaughter of millions and millions of cows. And so when she became the Prime Minister, she wasn't doing anything about it. And so there were thousands and thousands of people who went, by the Rashtrapati Bhavan there in Delhi to protest and to remind her. And these are Gau Bhaktas, lovers of cows. They gathered in front of the parliament. There were many, many, people, Mahans from all different religions, from Sikhism, from Jainism, from Buddhism, not only Hinduism. It was such a bad thing that many of these people were even killed, going there to remind Indira Gandhi, that she had promised to take care of the cows. They were only there to tell her that you should honor your word. This is what you said. This was in I think the 7th of November, 1966, right? 7th of November, 1966. And then what happened? I'm not saying that this is a correlation, but again, I'm giving you the facts. Most of us know that Indira Gandhi was shot and killed. This happened in 1984. She was shot and killed by her own people. On what day? On Gopashtami. She went back on her promise. She didn't do anything for the cows. She left them to be slaughtered. She had the power to stop it, didn't do anything, and on Gopashtami, she was slaughtered. Now, again, I'm just telling you the story, how it goes, those are facts. Because like you said, Surabhi came from the churning of the ocean, Samudra Manthan. So from that we know that all forms, Bhagavan says that all forms of God reside in the cow. Sometimes we can, and that's not just, what I'm saying, the scripture says that. There's a beautiful mantra in Vishnu Puran that says, Gavam hi tirte vasati. Gavam hi tirte vasati means that vasati means to live, right? That the very form of a cow is the residence of Ganga. Gavam hi tirte vasti ha Ganga pushti tatha. That in the form of a cow, Ganga resides, and not only Ganga, but Gavam hi tirte vasti, all tirthas, tirthas like holy places, all holy places and Ganga, they reside in the cow. Not only that, it says, Lakshmi Karishe, the second line. Lakshmi Karishe means Lakshmi resides in the dung of the cow. Here the word Karish. Karish is a Sanskrit word, it means cow dung. So Lakshmi Karish that Lakshmi resides in the dung of the cow. Remember before we mentioned a cow dung, you may have been thinking, why the dung of the cow? That's only good for fertilizer. We understand that, but nothing else. Here the slok says from Vishnu Puran that Lakshmi resides in the dung of the cow. It further says that pranamam satatam cha kuryat. What does that mean? It means that a cow is worth being worshipped. This according to the verse. Nobody else would accept this outside of Hindus, right? But I'm just giving you the information. Vishnu Puran says that the cow is worthy of being worshipped. Is that true? Has anyone ever done that? Let's look at scripture and see if you can find an example. Radha Ramana, Radha Ramana, Gopi Jana Jivana, Radha Ramana, Radha Ramana, Radha Ramana, Gopi Jana Jivana, Radha Ramana. Gomutrena Snapayitva Punargorjasarbhakam Rakshang Chakrusya Shakrita Dadashangeshu Namavi Radha Ramana, Radha Ramana, Gopi Jana Jivana, Radha Ramana, Radha Ramana, Radha Ramana, Gopi Jana Jivana, Radha Ramana, Radha Ramana, Radha Ramana, Gopi Jana Jivana, Radha Ramana, Radha Ramana, Radha Ramana, Gopi Jana Jivana, Radha Ramana, Gopi Jana Jivana, Radha Ramana, Gopi Jana Jivana, Radha Ramana. Canto 10, 68, chapter 20th verse. Bhagavad Mahapuran says, Gomutre Nastapayitva. Gomutra, we know that. It means the urine of the cow. Snapayitva. This is an incident that took place when Sri Krishna was attacked by Putana. Remember that katha? When Sri Krishna was found by his parents after Putana had fallen down and has expanded herself into miles and miles long and when she fell down killed by Sri Krishna, they had to run a long distance to go find where Krishna was. They found Kanhaiya playing on the chest area of Krishna, of Putana. And so, Yashoda Maya quickly took her baby and brought her home. And sometimes we take our baby somewhere, or we took them somewhere where there's a lot of people, and we bring them home. What do? You do a little bit thing, something that you think will protect the child, right? You put something black on the hand, you put a little tikka, you put something under the arm, you give them a particular bracelet, we conclude that the child has nazar, right? Or najar, as we call it. You take a jharu, jharu, a broom, right? Even the Pandits do that. You take a broom and you're reading mantras and you're doing it on the baby, all because you want to protect the child. Yashoda Maya did the same thing, but she did it differently. How did she? When she found Krishna and bring him home again, Yashoda Maya gomutrena snapayitva. That after thoroughly bathing Sri Krishna, in order to protect him, in order, Raksham Chakrusya Shakrita. You know Shakrita means? Shakrita, here in this is Sanskrit, means cow dung. So Gomutra, cow urine, and Shakrita, cow dung, are both mentioned here. The other thing that is mentioned here is the dust that comes out from the feet of the cows, from under their feet. Why? Because Ganga is in the urine, in Gomutra, and Lakshmi is in the Gobar. So the child was thoroughly washed with what? Gomutre nasnapayitva. Can you imagine? Bathing the child with Gomutra, with the urine of the cow. Because the cow is sacred. Because the urine is medicinal. We don't know that today, we won't do that. But if you go in the store, especially the Indian store, if you go in the Indian store today, check in the cooler. You'll find Gomutra in a bottle. Today, you can find it. You can buy it. I'm not saying the science is still there. I'm not saying we know the mantras, how to use it. But that is why it's still sold in the stores. Because it's a medicine. Yashoda Maya, after bathing the child with Gomutra, bathing Kanhaya, then she took Shakrita and applied it on so many different parts of Kanhaya to purify the child. Why? Because the Upanishad in so many places, there's a mantra that says, Gomai Vasate Lakshmi. That Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, lives in the cow dung. Upanishad. Gomai Vasate Lakshmi. And that Gomutra is Ganga, and Gobar is Lakshmi. And so Yashoda Maya took care of her child by applying Gobar. You know, there's even a slok in the Padma Puran that tells us how to do this. It gives details. If you want to purify the child, the things that need to be done. This is how the mantra goes. Lalate Keshavam Dhyayen Narayanam Madodare Vakshasthale Madhavam tu Govindam Kantakubare Vishnum cha Dakshane Kukshau Bahau tu Madhusudana Trivikramam Kandare tu Vamanam Vama Parshvake Sridharam Vama Bahau tu Rishikesham tu Kandhare Shishte tu Padmanabham cha Kathayang Damodaram Yaset. Long mantra, but in short what this mantra means, that Lalate Keshavam Dhyayet. For example, that Lalat means the forehead, right? That what we should do is that what Yashoda Maya did with Kandhaya, this is direction as to how to use the Gobar. Lalate, that first should be, you should Lalate Keshavam Dhyayet, that one should think of Keshava, that aspect of Bhagavan, and apply Gobar on the forehead. Dhyayet Narayanam Madodare. On the stomach area, the second application should go in the stomach area and think of Narayan Bhagavan. Vakshasthale Madhavam tu. Think of Madhava, Sri Krishna, and Vakshasthal in the chest area, put it, and so on and so forth. This is 12. You have to do this 12 times in 12 different places. This is a mantra. It tells you how to get it. It is in Padma Puran, so you can find that if you want. So the point here, before we close, is that Gobar is medicinal for so many things, for the soil, and to the milk and the dahi and the ghee, they help to keep us healthy. The Gobar and the Gomutra keeps us healthy from an external standpoint. With skin diseases, with bhoot, with nazar, najar, barai, as they say. Gomutra and Gobar helps us. So Gobar helps us with our puja. We apply it on the paste on the ground before we do puja, etc. So here, Atharva Ved also says to us Vashang devo upajivam ti vashang manusya upa varsham dam sarvam bhavatu yavatu suryo vishasyati. This is Atharva Ved 10:10:34. Atharva Ved tells us that men today live on the products of the cow, and as long as the Suryo, as long as the sun continues to shine, men will depend on the existence of the cow to provide good health for them, both internally and externally. So my dear friends, this is just a little bit of information as to the importance of the cow, what we can benefit from the cow, that we should see that for us, at least for Hindus, that a cow is sacred. The least we should do is not encourage the slaughter of the cow, not partake in meat eating of the cow. And then we should also realize, because the cow is sacred, because the things that a cow gives us are things we use in our puja. We mentioned those things before, the milk, the ghee, etc. From an external standpoint, there's gomutra and gobar, and the benefits of the cow dung and the cow urine. The beauty of a cow, how docile it is when you have a cow around you. Some people are scared, some people, people who are less spiritual, there's a bhoot around, that bhoot will possess them very easily. If there's a cow around, that's not possible. A bhoot will not come around where there's a cow, right? So many different benefits. Cow has human emotions. It will share your pain. It will cry for you. It will become a part of your family. In these countries, we cannot have the cow as a part of our household. We keep a cat or a dog or something. We should remember these points, that we should hold the cow sacred, because the scriptures say that. We should prevent doing anything cruel to the cow or other animals, especially those animals that have emotions, because scientifically, and this study was just done in 2018, go and look it up, that if you eat the meat of those animals, you will end up with diseases. Salmonella, mad cow disease, etc. So it's not only from the Hindu scriptures, it is from science as well. So I hope and pray that these few words will bring enlightenment to you in some way or the other. Let us celebrate today as Gopashtami, a day that is very auspicious, a day that you can give Gaudan. Gaudan is given in a wedding. It's given when you're doing a Shraddha. I'm not saying you should give Gaudan or you have to give Gaudan. I'm not advocating that. I'm saying these are the days that, on these occasions that people give Gaudan to their priests, etc. Right? So that helps us to understand a little bit more of the importance of the cow, and how it's relevant to our worship, how it's relevant to our peaceful existence. I hope and pray that our satsang today will bring enlightenment in some little way. I want to thank everyone who has joined us this morning. I give my reverence to my dad, Pandit Satyacharan Sharma, to my mamu, Pandit Hari Prasad, my chacha from Canada, Pandit Lokpanya Tilak. I don't know if Chacha Vyas them are on today. If you're on, welcome, Chach. To all the other Pandits from Guyana, Pandit Amit and Pandit Tulsi Ji and all the other young Pandits from Guyana. I also have heard recently that a good friend of mine, Pandit Bimal Ji, Pandit Bimal originally is from Trinidad, but he still serves in Trinidad and the Florida area. So Panditji, glad to have you on. My reverence to you and to the rest of the family. Thank you for coming on. Do remember that we have launched a radio, the RKF radio. Please tune on. We don't have the schedule yet. The schedule should be coming out in a week or so. We don't have the apps yet, the iPhone app and the Android app. Those should be coming out in a week. But the radio is live. If you want to, there's some random music on there. If you can tune in there, then when the app is out, then you'll be able to listen to that in a more convenient way, in that there will be a schedule as to what will be played when. So we hope that you will be joining us during the week when you have time on our radio as well. For now, let's close the session with a small bhajan. This bhajan also, Yamuna Kinare Denu Chadhave, it also talks of, this bhajan also talks of Bhagavan taking the cows by the Yamuna, by the banks of the Yamuna river to graze. Shri Radhe Govinda मन भज ले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। गाइए, जय नंदलाला जय जय, जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला, जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। श्री राधे गोविंदा गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। यमुना किनारे धेनु चरावे माधव मदन मुरारी, माधव मदन मुरारी। यमुना किनारे धेनु चरावे माधव मदन मुरारी, माधव मदन मुरारी। मधुर मुरलिया जबी बजावे हर ले सुध बुध सारे, ओ हर ले सुध बुध सारे। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। मोर मुकुट सिर गल बनमाला, केसर तिलक लगाए, केसर तिलक लगाए। मोर मुकुट सिर गल बनमाला, केसर तिलक लगाए, केसर तिलक लगाए। वृंदावन की कुंज गलन में सबको नाच नचाए, वो सबको नाच नचाए। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला, जय नंदलाला जय गोपाला, जय नंदलाला जय जय। श्री राधे गोविंदा मन भजले हरि का प्यारा नाम है। गोपाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम है। नंदलाला हरि का प्यारा नाम। वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय। So before we do closing prayers, I just got a message that devotees listening to us are responding to that unfortunate gentleman who has not decided to listen to the facts. Everyone can be entitled to their opinion. People generally are. No one is entitled. People are entitled to their own opinions, but never to your own facts. So let's just keep that in mind. I thank all the devotees who are trying to respond to this unfortunate human being. Our message was based on scripture and science. And if I'm not following the scriptures, or any person who's not following the scriptures, whether a Christian in Christianity, a Muslim in Islam, if you're not following the scriptures, that is unfortunate. So if you're not following the scriptures in Hinduism, all of us who are not doing that are unfortunate. So this is not directed at any one person, because I've given you facts from the scriptures. Let's all keep our calmness of mind and our happiness of this auspicious day. Let's worship Bhagavan, do meditation, and revel in God's protection. At this time, we will join in closing prayers. बार बार बरमांग हो हर्ष देह श्रीरंग पर सरोजयन पावनी भगति सदा सतसंग सिया पति रामचंद्र की जय शरणम प्रभु उमापति महादेव की जय पवन सुत हनुमान की जय सियावर रामचंद्र की जय शरणम प्रभु सब संतन की जय जय सीताराम जय जय श्री राधे जय जय श्री राधे जय जय श्री राधे रासेश्वरी राधा रानी की जय. Before you leave, I want to remind you that in the auspiciousness of this month, Kartik Maas, there are many more auspicious days coming up. In the middle of this week somewhere, there's Tulsi Vivah. I think it's Thursday. So do remember, Tulsi Vivah is the marriage of Tulsi and Shaligram Bhagavan. So celebrate in your own way if you can. Decorate the Shaligram. Shaligram, that little, as we call it, that little stone, as we say, that represents Bhagavan Krishna or Bhagavan Vishnu. You can decorate it a little bit. You can, put a Tulsi leaf there or Tulsi plant and do aarti. That is, how you can celebrate. And we'll talk more about that next Sunday. There are so many auspicious days in this month that it's not possible to cover all of it, but next Sunday we'll be talking about Tulsi Viva. So again, may Bhagavan bless all of you, and until we meet again, may Bhagavan keep you safe. Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki jai. Bal Krishna Bhagavan ki jai.
Radha Krishna Foundation launches RKF Radio in our effort to promote Indian culture around the world. Our programs are designed for all ages, including Bollywood yesteryear, Bollywood latest for the younger folks, bhajans, and lectures from notable scriptures. RKF Radio. Live now at radhakrishnaffoundation.com. App coming soon. Radha Krishna Foundation presents. On Friday, March 26th, launches RKF Radio live in our effort to promote Indian culture around the world. Our programs are designed for all ages, including Bollywood yesteryear, Bollywood latest for the younger folks, bhajans, and lectures from notable scriptures. This live satsang is presented by Radha Krishna Foundation in light of the ongoing lockdown and in support of Sri Lakshmi Mandir of West Palm Beach, Florida, Radha Krishna Dham of number 73 Village, Guyana, Dharma Mandir of London, United Kingdom, and Shiva Mandir Ashram of Legwan Island, Guyana.